I've found that turning 50 is not for wimps or the faint of heart. Our bodies go through quite the transformation. What we never had to struggle for before, we'll have to fight for in our 50s. But hey, we're Gen Xers. We were built for the struggle. We can handle this. So I'm 58, and in this video, I'm going to share 10 ways your body is going to change and how I'm personally fighting back. When I think of my 50s, I'm reminded of that line from Bette Davis in All About Eve. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night. Okay, number one is muscle loss. It starts subtly in your 50s. Maybe it gets a little harder to get up off the floor. Maybe carrying groceries is a lot harder than it used to be. Your legs start feeling a lot heavier going up the stairs. You notice your arms looking a lot softer or flabbier. It's not your imagination. Whether you're male or female, muscle loss comes for all of us. And for me, it really started showing up in my 50s. Now, if you ignore it, it doesn't just affect how you look, it will affect how you feel, how you perform throughout the day. Muscles are huge energy factories. They take the energy out of the food that we eat, and they turn it around and give it right back to us in the form of stamina and power and endurance. So we need to love our muscles. Muscles are so important when it comes to balance. I mean, think about babies. They don't come into this world knowing how to sit up or how to stand. They have to grow and develop those muscles in order to just sit up. And, we've been taking those muscles for granted ever since. So here's how I'm fighting back. I have a busy life, just like many of you. So fitting in a traditional workout usually doesn't always happen. Instead, I rely on exercise snacks throughout the day and throughout the week. I keep my dumbbells somewhere visible, somewhere convenient. If I have some time, I'll do some bicep curls really quick. I'll do some rows. I'll even do some planks with shoulder taps. But one of the most important things that I do are squats. And just air squats. I don't use any weights. Even just a few at a time. Squats work your core, but most of all, they work those quads, which are one of the biggest muscles in our body. And remember, those muscles, they're energy factors. I mean, our quads are so essential for mobility as we age. Research has shown that when we're on a week of bed rest, we lose so much quad muscle during that time. So it's something when we're feeling good, we need to stay at it and build it up for those reserves. I'm also paying attention to how much protein I'm eating. I have increased that dramatically through the years. Now, number two is bone density loss, and this one is very stealthy. I mean, you won't feel it happening in your body. You won't see it in the mirror. But here's the reality. In the 5 to 7 years after menopause, women lose 20% of their bone mass. That's 1/5 of our skeleton quietly disappearing. Now here's how I'm fighting back against bone loss. First, I try to make sure I get enough vitamin D, and that's usually through a supplement. I've also increased my calcium intake through the foods that I eat. And those exercises that I just mentioned in the first tip, they not only strengthen your muscles, they do double duty. They send a message to your bones to not shrink. There's been research done that holding certain yoga poses will increase bone density, especially in your hips or in your spine. Now, I had my first bone density scan a couple of years ago, and it did show slight osteopenia in my hips and in my spine. So one of the poses that I like to do is, I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, is that I will do tree pose when I brush my teeth in the morning and at night. I'll alternate legs, but I'll just hold in tree pose for the entire time I'm brushing my teeth. Okay, number 3 is joint stiffness and pain. Now I'll share a personal story. The first time I realized that joint stiffness existed in my own body was a few years ago. I spent an afternoon one spring day getting my little garden ready, and I used several handheld garden tools, but it was hard work, and I spent several hours doing this. The next morning I woke up and my hands hurt, my fingers hurt. They were really stiff and sore, but I had never experienced anything like that before until I hit my 50s. But here's how I'm fighting it. One of the first things I did was I got on YouTube and I searched for mobility exercises. I try to do some of those, and just memorizing those moves, I can do them throughout my day. I like to make a fist, periodically, and just to try and keep those joints lubricated. I like to bend and stretch out all 10 of my toes. I like to put weight on them, bending them and curling them. I do ankle rotations. I try to keep inflammation down in my body in all of its forms. And I know that's easier said than done. But I just try to be kinder to myself. I stopped trying to carry every single grocery bag in one trip. I've learned the proper ways to lift things, how to use your legs, not your back. And okay, number 4 is weight gain and a slower metabolism. Yeah, this is going to happen in your 50s. Everything slows down internally, externally, and that slowdown usually invites weight gain. With age and hormonal shifts, it's even more common. And it's not always something that we can fully control. We can't stop the clock, and we can't change the fact that our bodies are not what they were at 35. Now for me, I've been thin most of my life. This is not one of the 10 ways that I most struggle with, but in my mid to late 40s, I could see things were changing. I would see photos of myself and think, wow, that has really snuck up on me. But here's how I fought back. And everybody's body is different, but this is what seemed to work for me. I started changing my diet to lower blood sugar. It wasn't that I was trying to lose weight. I was primarily focused on lowering my blood sugar, which had climbed. And that's when I noticed that the pounds started to come off for me, especially in my midsection. In my case, it seems that my body was producing too much insulin in response to all of the carb-heavy meals that I had eaten all my life. And that insulin was causing me to store fat, especially in that midsection that I was talking about. For me, it's all about blood sugar balance. And in my case, it also means I'm usually able to control my weight gain through that method. Okay, number 5 is hormonal changes. And dudes, don't think you get a pass on this one just because women in menopause steal all the spotlight in this tragic comedy. Hormones start vacating the premises no matter what body you're in during your 50s. When we're young, hormones, they're the gas that keep us moving, they keep us confident, energized, motivated. When they start dwindling, we start feeling sluggish, unmotivated, wishy-washy, irritable. And that's just the emotional stuff. Physically, we're talking hot flashes, digestive issues, bone loss, sleep loss, and more. Your body starts running on a different setting and not one that you always like. Now here's how I fought this one. And to be honest, I'm still fighting this one. Some people choose hormone replacement therapy, and that's one path. Others go the more natural route and try to manage symptoms through lifestyle and diet, managing stress, and that would be the route that I've chosen to take. No one has the perfect formula for this one. So I just take one day at a time, and I know that my body is busy trying to acclimate to this new 50-plus-year-old me. and it'll figure it out. Now, so far, I've given you 5 things that you're just about guaranteed to experience in your 50s. Now, if you're finding this information helpful, I would love for you to click the like button and subscribe to my channel. My goal is to keep bringing things up that matter to us, to Gen Xers, the stuff that nobody told us, but we're living through now. Now, here are 5 more changes that you need to keep an eye out for in your 50s. And number 6 is starting with skin and hair. I never realized how dry my skin and my hair would become in my 50s. It was almost as if I woke up in someone else's body. And then there's the gray hair that starts showing up, usually around the hairline. Now, I haven't spotted my first gray hair yet, but strangely, I have some white eyebrows that are coming in. Some people experience thinning hair at this age, or a full-on texture change. Now, here's how I'm fighting back, especially when it comes to that dry skin. First, I stopped buying the dollar store cheap lotion. I buy a much higher quality of moisturizer now for my face and my skin, and I apply it liberally. I don't use any more harsh cleansers for my body or face, or even harsh shampoos. I also, to help from the inside out, I drink a lot more water than I used to. I try to stay, on target all throughout the day. And I make sure that there's lots of olive oil in my diet, because that will also help with that. And the 7th thing you're going to notice in your body in your 50s is vision decline. Now, if this hasn't already hit you, go ahead and start shopping for reading glasses now. First, you'll start noticing that you need more light to read things. It's like, is it dark in here? Or you'll find that you can't read the expiration dates on coupons. Or I know for me, I wasn't able to read the prices on price tags of clothing, anymore. But I resisted this one hard. I just kept thinking of, the reading glasses of old, the rectangular half lens reading glasses that sat on the end of your nose and, had the chain. And I'm like, I just can't do it. But here's how I fought back on this one. Once I realized I didn't have to wear those rectangular, reading glasses, that I could get a 5-pack of any style or color that I wanted on Amazon. And, buying them in multiple packs helps, because you're going to need some for the car, you'll need a pair at work, you'll need a pair in the bathroom, you'll need a pair on the nightstand, you'll need a pair in the kitchen. You'll forget where they are. And I also started scheduling regular eye exams. It's good to always get it checked out, make sure there aren't any issues that you need to be aware of. Okay, number 8 is digestive changes. And oh boy, I could talk about this one for hours. The digestive changes that I've seen in my body since turning 50. Is it hormones? Is it diet? Is it genetics? Or is it just age? I don't know. Maybe it's all of the above. Like many of the things I've mentioned in this video, some people will struggle more with some rather than others, and this one would probably be the one for me. But one thing that experts agree on is that digestion slows down in our 50s. And when that happens, your whole GI system starts getting out of sync. It leads to reflux, bloating, constipation, heartburn, stomach pain. You get the point. But here's how I fight back on this. Let me count the ways. Now, I don't always have digestion issues. It can come and go. I can have flare-ups. It usually depends on how well I'm adhering to the guidelines I've put in place for me. And that can include, taking antacids, H2 blockers, sleeping at an incline, in bed, watching the things that I eat, and never eating close to bedtime, not even snacking close to bedtime, never. I even add a pinch of baking soda to my coffee every day to reduce the acid in that. And I also manage my stress when it starts getting out of hand, because that'll always show up through, digestive issues as well. But if I get it all figured out, I'll be sure to let you guys know. And number 9 is the increased risk for chronic conditions. That starts showing up in our 50s as well. I hate to say it, but just like a car, with age, things start breaking down. And as Gen Xers, we have a few miles on the odometer. Around this age, or when those unpleasant words start popping up, hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes. We may not feel old, but our risk for chronic conditions definitely become much more serious in our 50s. Now, here's how I'm putting up a fight against chronic conditions. I like knowing my numbers. I make sure every year to get a physical that includes lab work that will reveal those big numbers to me. You can't change anything really if you don't know or have the knowledge. So that's step number 1, is know your numbers. Now, I can't prevent or fix everything, but I do know that I need to pay special attention to those areas that give me the most trouble. And whenever I get the news that, something or another is running a little elevated, then I start doing research immediately. And, I start trying to figure out what are some things that I can do to mitigate any issues going forward, whether it's just, incorporating more healthy habits into my life. That's pretty much what I'm trying to do every day, is just try to act and live a little more healthier than I did the year before. And number 10 on the list are emotional shifts. Have you ever heard of a midlife crisis or an identity crisis? Those routinely can show up in our 50s. Why in our 50s? Well, hormones, of course, play a role, but it can be a number of things. It can be the reality of aging. It could be a perceived sense of loss of our youth. It could be empty nest syndrome. It could be the loss of our parents. It could be changing roles, estrangement, divorce. Sometimes just even feeling invisible. It can be a lot, and it can hit some of us a lot harder than we ever planned for. I actually did a video recently on how I dealt with the huge identity shift that I experienced in my 50s. And I admitted in the video that some days I don't have it all figured out. Now, I'll link that video in the description box below if you're interested. But I'll be honest, a lot of times we just have to take it one day at a time. We need someone we can talk to, whether it's a friend, a therapist, or even just talking to ourselves. That can help, as long as you are saying some of the right things and not trying to tear yourself down when you do it. And we can't give up. We can't disappear into grief or confusion. Some days we just have to put on our rain boots. It might be pouring the rain in the morning, but by afternoon the clouds could have cleared, the sun could be shining. But the only way to experience that is showing up, getting out there, rain or shine. So you're entering your 50s. It's time to strengthen your inner warrior, your Jedi, your Xena warrior princess, your G.I. Joe, because we've got some fighting to do. But it's all in the name of peace, health, and good vibes. But get ready, because these 10 things that I mentioned today, they're going to come a-knocking. And you may have no choice but to let them in. But at least after watching this video today, they will not come unannounced, because you know how we hate that. Let me know in the comments, which of these changes do you dread the most? And how do you plan to deal with it? And watch this video next, Reversing Aging, Free and Natural Ways to Look and Feel Younger. I'll link it right here. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.